Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're tuned in to the Drive-In Review. I'm your host, Corey.
And I'm Duke.
And this week's episode, we're going to be talking about disaster movies.
That's right.
So I hope you're strapped in and ready to go, because here we go. We're going to start off with the movie 2012.
We start in alphabetical order.
Numbers first.
All
right. So this movie is about a limo driver that discovers that the world, as he knows it, is about to change. And it starts off with Yellowstone being ground zero.
Yeah.
So the movie's starring John Cusack, Amanda Peet, Woody Harrelson, Oliver Platt, and Danny Glover himself. So
No Joan Cusack?
no Joan Cusack. John Cusack.
No Joan, no?
No.
Oh.
No, his sister's not in it.
Okay. That's rare.
Right. All right. This movie was released November 13th, 2009. And it was directed by Roland Emmerich, who also directed Independence Day and the sequel. The 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, I remember that fondly.
More recently, he directed Moonfall.
Yep.
We were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And The Day After Tomorrow, which is another disaster movie.
Yep. We might be just talking about that later.
All right. It was also distributed and produced by Columbia Pictures. This movie had a budget of $200 million and grossed $791 million.
That's a pretty decent movie.
Yeah.
$200 million for a budget?
Yeah. For the graphics and everything,
Yeah.
I expected higher.
Right. They must have had some confidence in that film.
Right. Well, I mean, the star-studded cast in it alone, I mean, I'm sure they had a hefty paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
IMDb gave it 5.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 39% with an audience rating of 47%. Letterboxd gave it 2.4 out of 5. So, I mean, pretty average.
Yeah.
You know, a hair above.
Fairly low, which I would expect that to have a fairly low. I mean, I've seen the movie.
Yeah. I
would expect that.
We lived through it.
Yeah.
I mean, my rating, I gave it 7 out of 10. I thought it was a great movie. It was, 7 out of 10 slates. It's, solid for me.
I would have to disagree. I gave it about 5.5 out of 10 slates.
So you're about the same average.
Yeah.
It was just par for you.
Yeah. I don't know if I had high expectations for the film when it came out, but it did not deliver for me.
Yeah, it wasn't one of John Cusack's best films.
No, it wasn't his worst film either.
No.
Have you ever seen Cell?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's not that great of a film.
Isn't that the one with Jennifer Lopez?
It's been a while since I've seen it. I don't remember.
That's The Cell.
Right, The Cell. No, this was just Cell. It was based on a novel by Stephen King.
Ah.
And it has, I believe is it Lawrence Fishburne?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an odd, yeah. All right.
Anyway, but we're not talking about Cell. We're talking about 2012.
Right. So some fun facts about this disaster movie. Out of 6 billion people in the world, only a little more than 400,000 survived.
Well, that was 6 billion people back in 2009.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We just hit 8 billion, right?
Good grief.
Yeah.
So just imagine, just a fraction of survivors.
You said 400,000?
A little more than 400,000.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Wow.
Throughout the whole entire world. So, 6 billion people's lost their lives in that movie. Not really, but
Literally, yeah, yeah.
if that were to happen, that's what it would have happened. That would have been an outcome. The production company built this massive platform, and they put it on a gimbal. And Danny Glover was the first one to try it out.
Yeah.
And it was so massive, and they had it ramped up so high that he just tumbled over himself and fell. So then after that, then they kind of said, okay, we need to dial this down a little bit, and dialed it down because there was people like really concerned and freaked out and everything for it. So I thought that was kind of fascinating for like the earthquake scene.
Yeah, you need to take it easy on Danny Glover, man. He's too old for that shit.
Right. So that's all I've got for 2012.
It was an okay film.
Yeah, I mean, for the time, it was nice. You know, the whole Mayan calendar idea. You know.
Yeah, the whole scare from 2012. You know, I remember back in the 90s thinking about 2012 being the end of times.
Or back in Y2K.
Yeah.
Remember that prank? I think New York City had a blackout.
Did they? I don't remember that.
I believe so. Yeah,
I remember
right.
the all the stores, they were told to shut down all their computers and stuff at
Yeah.
midnight, so that, I don't know, all the computers would crash or something at
Right.
midnight because the computers couldn't read the.
Yeah, they were afraid of hackers. Is what it was.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
I assumed it was the computers would like crash or something because they didn't know how to numerologically
Right.
restart.
I think the
at
computers are
zero.
smarter than we are. I mean,
Right. It didn't make sense to me, but I did hear some people saying that the computers would do
Right.
something weird because of the rollover, which
Well-
just never made sense.
well, we're still here, so
Are we?
I mean, I hope so.
This could just be a dream.
Oh man, that's a weird. That's a movie on its own.
Oh,
So, all right,
not a disaster film though. Let's move along.
what do you got?
The next movie that we have is called The Wave. I don't have a whole lot on this movie because it's a Norwegian film, but it was released in Norway on August 16th, 2015. Good movie. I thought it was really good. I watched it last week for the first time. It was directed by Roar Uthag,
Okay,
who is a Norwegian director. He also directed the new Netflix Troll film, which was fairly average in my opinion. I thought if you wanted to watch a large troll movie, you should watch Troll Hunter.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a really
that
good
was a
film.
good one.
But he also did the 2018 Tomb Raider, and he also directed Cold Prey, which is a slasher film. Pretty decent film. IMDb rated it 6.6 out of 10. Pretty decent.
Right.
Letterboxd gave it 3.2 out of 5. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it 83%. The audience rating was 66%. A little bit
Yeah.
lower than the reviewers.
Right. What did you rate it?
I gave it a 7.5.
Okay. I know my default is usually 4 out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
but when I saw the poster for this movie, I was excited. It looked, pretty intense, and I haven't watched the movie yet, so I really do want to, but just for the simple fact that it's a Norwegian film and it's all subtitled,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to take me some time to,
Yeah, you got to find your mood.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to just because of the subtitles, I'm going to give it 3.5. I'm going to give it a notch lower.
Okay.
Just because I'm not too impressed with it
Mhm.
at this point, but I'm sure it'll change once I get into the mood and watch the film.
I mean, it was a good movie. It has really good effects. I didn't find a budget on it, so I couldn't tell you, what its budget was or what it grossed. But it does star Christopher Joner and Ane Dahl Torp.
Oh my God.
And both of those actors acted in the sequel. Yes, The Wave has a sequel.
Does it really?
Mm-hmm. It's called The Quake.
Ah,
Not the same director, but it is the same writer, I believe, for The Wave. I did get to watch some of The Quake, and it didn't really catch my attention. definitely The Wave was.
Didn't shake you up as much.
Oh God. But yeah, check it out. The Wave. You can find that one actually on Prime, I believe. If you have Amazon Prime, go check it out.
No, nothing else. No interesting facts.
I didn't find a whole lot on The Wave,
Okay,
but it's definitely worth a watch.
I've got to widen my horizon on foreign films. I'm not too big on them, but that's just I'm just lazy.
Hit and miss, man. You do have to be in a certain mood to sit there.
Now, I will
2 hours of subtitles.
I will say the Mel Gibson's. I'm getting off topic here, but Mel Gibson's Passion of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That was nothing but subtitles because it
Yeah.
was all in Hebrew,
Right.
which I thought was amazing that he got everybody to speak Hebrew and all that. So I actually went to the theaters and saw that one,
Okay.
and I don't know if it was just
How was the crowd reaction when you were watching it?
very intense, like very silent, because everybody who's read the Bible knows what
Mhm.
happens and stuff. So you don't really have to follow and read the subtitles to know what's going on.
Sure.
So it was just,
Kind
without-
of like a morose. Everybody's sitting there, kind of.
oh yeah, and then the cat claw scene where he used the cat claws on himself
Mm-hmm.
and everything. That everybody was like just gasping.
It's been over 15 years since I've
It
seen
was.
that movie.
I seen it 3 times then, and I think the third time I ended up falling asleep through half of it because I had enough. But yeah. So, anyways,
There's plenty of good horror films, foreign films that are worth the watch, sitting through subtitles.
I just have to be in the mood.
There's Inside is a good French film. There's a couple of really funny French comedies that you should check out. The Dinner Game is one of them. I think that's an old 90s flick, which is really funny. But yeah, there's, if you find yourself in the mood,
Broaden my horizon.
yeah, there's some good ones.
All right.
What else you got, me?
Well, moving along, we're going to talk about Dante's Peak.
Oh boy.
Now, this one didn't get very good, reviews.
Wonder why.
Yeah, it was mediocre.
I almost said it's a decent flick. I guess it's kind of a decent flick. The effects are really good.
It's very back building. Like it takes a minute.
It does, yeah. It takes a minute for it to find its groove.
Right. So it's about a volcanologist that checks up on a long dormant volcano named Dante's Peak.
Which is
And
played by Bronson.
Pierce Brosnan.
I almost said Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson?
Bronson Pinchot.
Charles Bronson's in this.
Yeah,
There you
Charles.
go.
Amazing. And his sidekick Bronson Pinchot.
Anyways, so he goes and checks on Dante's Peak and discovers that the sleeping volcano is about to wake up and just obliterate this small town that was just named the second most desirable place to live in the United States.
This is basically the synopsis of The Wave.
Really,
It's almost the
About-
same thing.
About the same.
He's not a volcanologist. He's I don't know,
Tidal wave expert.
he's some sort of expert. And he's
All right.
in this little village around this mountain that basically crumbles and creates a tsunami wave.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not trying to backpedal here, but I did
No.
want to throw in that little synopsis.
No, that's good. That's good to know, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of a tie-in a little bit.
Yeah.
So this movie stars Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton. Kind of an odd pair.
It's a very strange casting.
I mean, I don't know what they were thinking on that one, but Pierce Brosnan wasn't the only star.
You mean Bronson Pinchot?
Right, yeah,
And
Bronson
Linda Gray?
Pinchot. He wasn't almost the star of this movie, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. It was released February 7th, 1997, directed by Roger Donaldson,
Mhm.
who also directed Cocktail,
Yeah.
Cadillac Man,
Good movie.
and Species.
Yep.
I mean, every director has their flops.
Yeah.
This one was definitely his, I think.
Yeah, this was not the greatest of the four
Right.
that we're talking about.
So it was distributed and produced by Pacific Western Productions. It had a budget of $116 million and grossed 178. So it did get its money back,
Yeah.
luckily,
Yeah.
I think. The ratings are off the chart. IMDb gave it 6 out of 10.
Yep.
Rotten Tomatoes gave it 28% with an audience rating of only 38%.
Yeah.
So not very much difference there. And then Letterboxd gave it 2.5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
My rating on this is 6 out of 10. Like it could have been better, but it was just one of those backpedaling or back-building movies that just took forever to get intense.
Yeah.
And once it did, it got intense, you know.
Yeah, I agree. There were some intense moments in the film, but overall, I think it just didn't deliver. I give it 5 out of 10 slates.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't either one of their best films.
Yeah,
I mean, Linda Hamilton, I mean, she will forever be known as Sarah Connor.
sure.
And Pierce Brosnan's James Bond.
Yeah, 007.
Yeah. The facts on these, though, so getting back to what I was saying earlier, Pierce Brosnan wasn't going to be the starring lead of this movie. It was actually supposed to be Michael Douglas. Now, do you think that
You know, I
would've-
think that's what have made the film better.
You think so?
I do. I know some people that don't care for Michael Douglas, but you know, I think he would have done a much better job. But that's my personal opinion. I'm not a huge Pierce Brosnan fan anyway. No, I think it would have been a better film. Perhaps.
The filming of the movie, the town that they were in, is in Wallace, Idaho, which was also the location for the movie Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate, yeah, the movie about the cult.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the volcano itself was digitally put on. Most of the effects were actually practical effects, which
Really?
I thought was surprising.
Yeah,
And-
because the late 90s, that's when all the really crappy CGI started coming out, wasn't it?
Right.
About the late 90s?
Yeah. So the volcanic ash in the movie was actually just finely shaved newspaper.
Oh, I just figured they had like a bunch of just hired a bunch of old nannies to flick their cigarettes on people.
A bunch of dust bunnies just
Yeah.
floating in the air. The crater scenes in the movie were actually shot at Mount St. Helens,
Okay.
which is still active to this day.
Sure, yeah.
And some of the truth to this movie, it wasn't a true story, but the part where the mom or the grandma refused to leave her home
Yeah.
and everything when the volcano was erupting.
Yeah.
That was actually a true story that happened at Mount St. Helens
Back in
eruption
80?
in 1980. His name was actually Harry Truman. And-
Interesting.
Right. And he wouldn't leave his lodge. He's like, nope, I refuse to. This is my home.
Hmm.
So they used that true event to put into the movie.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting facts to know. And yeah, that's really all I got for Dante Speak. 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 for you for the slate rating. So
What did you think of Volcano? And it's been a while since I've watched that one.
it was to me, it had a better cast in that one.
It came out around the same time as Dante's Peak, wasn't
Yeah,
it? They were
so-
both 97.
So I think Dante's Peak would have been better if they had more time, but they were being rushed to get it out before Volcano because Volcano.
It came out before Volcano?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were really in competitive terms
Oh,
with
yeah,
that,
Sure.
and I think if Volcano would have came out before Dante's Peak, it would have flopped even more than what it did.
Okay.
But I thought Volcano was good. I just didn't feel like it was a disaster movie because it could happen, realistically, but not likely. Where a volcanic eruption can happen at any time. With a volcano, a sleeping volcano can wake up and everything. So that's the kind of the role we were going with this week.
Yeah, we were trying to work in the movies that were most likely to happen, which after researching these movies, actually one of the films that we're going to talk about was very unlikely to happen, according to NASA. And we'll get to that later.
Right. So that's all I got for Dante Speak. So,
Dante Speak.
yeah, Dante Speak. What do you got next?
Next movie I want to talk about is called The Impossible.
Oh, great movie.
Yeah, it's based on the 2004 tsunami earthquake.
That was in Indonesia?
Yes, correct. So it's based on that event. It had its wide release on January 4th, 2013. It was actually released in 2012 at several film festivals, but it didn't have its wide release in the U.S. until 2013.
Okay.
It was directed by J.A. Bayona, who also directed some horror films. Actually, The Orphanage is one of them. Penny Dreadful, and he also directed, or she directed Jurassic Park: Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The film
Wasn't that Jurassic World?
Did I
at
say
that
Jurassic
point?
Park?
You did.
Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Yes, it wasn't park. It was beyond the park. It was more widespread.
Right.
Anyway, the film was distributed by Lionsgate, and it had a budget of $45 million, and it grossed, surprisingly, $198 million.
Wow.
And it's surprising to me because I don't think this is a very well-known film.
No, it's not. It's kind of like almost an independent film.
Yeah, I would say it would kind of fall into that category, which is not so much of an independent film because it starred Naomi Watts, Ewan McGregor, and a young Tom Holland.
Right.
But I thought it was a good movie, and I think it's a weird title for the film as well, The Impossible.
Yeah, they should have went with something else because
It's not a title that grabs you, considering what the movie is, what it concerns.
there was another movie with Ewan McGregor in it that I didn't quite get. It was
The Island?
Eye of the Beholder.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't. It's
Uh-uh.
it's a weird one. We won't go there. We won't talk about that.
Well, don't go there.
Yeah.
You don't go there.
I just wanted to mention it.
But The Impossible, IMDb rated it a 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
And that tells you right there how good of a movie it is. I gave it a 7 out of 10 slates. But then again, it's been a while since I've seen it, and I think my rating would go up if I watched it again. Letterboxd gave it a 3.6 out of 5, and that's a damn good rating. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 81% and an 84% audience rating.
Nice. I think I agree with you about 7 out of 10 on that one. I did actually watch it about a little over a month ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's intense and everything, and it happens like that. There's no warning,
Yeah.
nothing, and it just happens, and that's usually how tsunamis work.
I kind of want to rewatch it right now. I would love to see it
Well,
again.
we got to finish this episode first.
Darn. But the film was actually filmed in Thailand, and a lot of the extras in the film were survivors of the actual event in 2004.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. This was also Tom Holland's film debut. And since it's been so long since I've seen the movie, I'd like to see.
He was pretty young.
Yeah, I imagine this was 2012. So when was the first Spider-Man? Was that 2017, 18?
Something like that. And
So it was like 5 years before Spider-Man.
Right.
The screenplay for this film was featured on a 2010 Blacklist. It was a list for the most liked unmade scripts of the year. That doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it
Why would
doesn't.
it be a blacklist for most liked unmade scripts?
Maybe because of the true event of it. The
Yeah.
tragedy of it, maybe.
But if they were most liked unmade scripts, why would they be on a blacklist? You'd think it'd be like a green book or something like that.
Right. It's a conspiracy theory right there.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Disney.
Right.
But that's really all I have for The Impossible. What do you got, man?
All right,
Sea-Dog.
I'm gonna take you back to 1996.
Take me back.
Talk about the movie Twister.
That was a classic.
Love the film. That's one of my all-time favorites.
That was one of the big films of that year,
Yeah.
along with Independence Day. It
It's-
came out that summer, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was released on May 10th, 1996.
almost the summer.
Yeah, starring the late Bill Paxton,
Oh,
Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Carrie Ellis, and Alan Ruck,
mm-hmm.
amongst a bunch of other people that
Yeah.
are famous.
Bill Pullman? No,
No, not Bill Pullman. No,
no, Bill Paxton.
he was too busy, being president and fighting.
Jeff
aliens.
Bridges? No.
Yeah. So the movie is about a group of storm chasers trying to make history by releasing a special device that they named Dorothy. And then this device will help, create an earlier warning system for safety. The only problem is in order for this device to work, they have to release it in the heart of a tornado.
Sure.
So it's pretty intense. The visual effects on this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought by far. Even for CGI,
Yeah.
it was amazing and
Well, I
felt
think
real.
The thing about CGI, I think they weren't heavy hitting with CGI when they started coming out in the 90s. It wasn't until like the 2000s they were just really overdoing it. They're just throwing it out there,
Right.
trying to hopefully make it hit anywhere it could, and it just was not working. But the 90s CGI wasn't too bad.
The visual scenes of the tornadoes
Mhm.
were actual videos. Those are actual tornadoes that they videotaped and got footage of and added to the movie. So it wasn't. I think the only one that was digitally put on there was the water twisters
Okay.
in the water.
Yeah.
That one was CGI. But all the other ones were real. So
Okay.
anyway, the director.
Like I said, they weren't overdoing the CGI.
Right. The director is Jean de Bont.
De Bon. Jean de Bon.
Jean de Bont. He also directed Speed,
Mm-hmm.
Speed 2, and The Haunting.
Okay. The 1998 Haunting?
Yes.
98.
Yeah, with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and it was distributed and produced by Warner Brothers and Universal.
Okay.
The budget on this was $92 million, and it grossed $496 million.
I would imagine it would have made more than that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
400.
Like I said, it was one of the big films that year.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think top 3. I'm totally guessing, but I would say that's probably top 3 that year
Oh, I'm sure.
after Independence Day.
I'm sure, exactly. IMDb rating gave it 6.4 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Rotten Tomatoes gave it 63% with a 58% audience, which I don't agree with that.
I don't know. It's a classic. I don't know why it wasn't higher than that.
Right. I could be biased about it because, like I said, it's one of my favorite
Yeah,
movies,
yeah.
so I could be biased. Letterboxd gave it 3.5 or 3 out of 5
Mm-hmm.
for it. My rating 10 out of 10. It was excellent. It was executed perfectly, I believe, and
Clearly a 10 out of 10 for
oh
you.
yeah, perfect. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
I gave it let me interject,
Mhm.
7.5 for me.
Okay.
I've always liked the movie, but it wasn't a huge film for me. I've seen it a few times, but 7.5 I think.
Oh yeah, that's decent.
And I think 7.5 is actually the highest rating I gave any of the films on our list today.
Yeah, and Bill Paxton. That's one of our favorite actors.
Yeah, I love Bill Paxton. Anything that he's in.
Yeah.
The only man that was killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator.
Right.
And we just celebrated, 6 years now of his death?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's tragic.
yeah.
He will be missed.
Is missed.
All right, some fun facts about this movie.
Okay.
Interesting enough, Philip Seymour Hoffman only took the role as Dusty just so he could move back to New York.
He needed the money to move back to New York, huh?
Yeah, so that was the only reason he took that role.
Where was he living?
It doesn't say.
Montana?
I guess. The way he looked in the movie, I don't know, maybe in the woods.
Yeah. Another actor that we
That we lost.
we've
Yeah.
lost.
How long ago has it been for him?
Jeez, it's been over 10 years, I think, now.
Yeah. Both Helen Hunt and Jean de Bont walked away from a bunch of other movies just to do this one.
Okay.
And back in the '90s, Helen Hunt was pretty popular.
Hot.
Yeah,
That's the word you're looking for.
right. Yeah, she was popular. Here's an interesting fact that I think you're going to find hilarious and also interesting. Garth Brooks turned down the lead role. They offered the lead
What?
role to Garth Brooks.
Has he ever done any acting?
He's never done any acting. This
And he
probably
turned it
would have been
down.
his acting debut.
Wow.
So, I mean, back in the '90s, he was huge.
Oh, yeah, I remember
A
that.
huge entertainer. So, for him to turn this movie down, though, that's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
that's weird.
So, it would have been interesting to see him instead of Bill Paxton, but I think he turned it down was a good idea.
Well, yeah. Bill Paxton.
They are actually making a sequel, if you haven't heard yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Twisters. It comes out next year, July 19th, 2024.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything else about it. We don't know who's going to be in it, what it's going to be about, but hopefully it doesn't trash the first one.
I don't think it will trash the first one. I think they'll
Yeah,
definitely honor Bill Paxton for one.
right.
I don't know. I don't think any sequel can trash an original film, in my opinion.
Well, not trash it, but, give it a bad name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many sequels out there that are just like, oh, the original was better.
Yeah.
And everything. When you really want a sequel to be better than the original.
Which is very rare.
Very, very rare.
Like Maverick, I think, was way better than
Then Top Gun. Oh, yeah, by far. I actually watched Top Gun recently.
Yeah. The original
The original Top Gun, I think it was actually last night.
Not that great of a film, in my opinion.
No, Maverick was way better, but, you got to think of the timeline.
Sure.
So,
For the time, I'm sure, yeah. I was 6 when the original movie came out, so.
right.
And I don't think I even watched it until like 10 years ago for the first time. It just wasn't my cup of tea as a 6-year-old.
Now I do have an honorable mention. Speaking of Twister, have you ever seen Into the Storm?
I think I tried watching that film, and it was just so bad I couldn't get through it.
Yeah, I'm giving it an honorable mention just because the tornado scenes were a bit intense
Mhm.
in it. I think they tried their best, and it just couldn't top out Twister. I don't
Tried
think.
their best with the CGI.
Yeah,
The
overuse of CGI. Yeah, but I just wanted to give that an honorable mention.
Okay.
It's a decent movie, but it wasn't.
I think the effects were probably the best part of the movie. It's kind of like you've got your Transformer syndrome, where they just put out action and CGI and effects
Mhm.
to make the movie and don't worry about a script
Right.
or an actual story. It's the Michael Bayism.
Hey, let's make a movie. We got blue screen right over here.
Yeah.
Let's just do this.
Or
All
a
right.
green screen, whichever color you want to use.
Right, blue or green. Well, that's all I got for Twister. So,
Okay.
what do you got?
I got The Towering Inferno, released December 16th, 1974. I'm glad we were able to squeeze an older movie in
Right.
with all of them. It gives a little bit of flavor. Got our 70s flick in here. But Towering Inferno was directed by John Gillerman. He was also known for Death on the Nile, the 70s version, as well as the 1976 King Kong.
Oh.
And we were talking about King Kong
Yeah, many.
a couple weeks
John
ago.
Goodman.
Yeah. Yeah, with not John Goodman. I do have some interesting facts about the film, but first like to say the IMDb rating and all the other ratings. IMDb gave it 7.0, or 7 out of 10, rather.
That's good.
Letterboxd gave it 3.3 out of 5. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it 67%. The audience rating was 72%. So, I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 7. I think I saw it last year for the first time. It didn't affect me one way or another, but it was a good film.
Right.
Fairly good effects for a 70s movie. For a synopsis, basically, they're in a high-rise building, and a fire starts out on floor 81 due to an electrical issue. And there's a all-star cast featuring Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Fred Astaire, Robert Wagner, O.J. Simpson makes an appearance, as well as Dabney Coleman.
I remember seeing it as a kid in the 80s. And I don't know. I liked it. I mean, I remember, a little bit about it. And whenever you reminded me of the movie, in a way, doesn't it remind you of Skyscraper with, Dwayne Johnson?
I forgot about that movie.
Well,
I totally forgot about that movie.
because so when that movie came out, everybody was like, "Oh, it's just like Die Hard." But then now, you mentioned the Towering Inferno.
Uh-huh.
It sounds more like it was a remake.
Of Towering
Yeah.
Inferno. Strangely enough, and that's a good segue, Towering Inferno influenced a lot of other movies. I'm guessing Skyscraper was one of them, but there was an author named Roderick Thorpe who was influenced by Towering Inferno. He actually had a dream after watching the film and ended up writing a novel named Nothing Lasts Forever, which turned out to be Die Hard.
Nice.
So, yeah. The screenwriter of Towering Inferno was Sterling Siliphant, but he was also known for writing In the Heat of the Night, Village of the Damned, the original Village of the Damned back in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
He also did this screenplay for Over the Top and Poseidon Adventure,
Awesome. Awesome.
which came out a couple years before Towering Inferno. But that was I found was interesting that the writer did a whole lot of other stuff. But the movie was actually based on 2 different novels. One of them was called The Tower, written by Richard Martin Stern, and the other one was named The Glass Inferno, written by, what was his name? Thomas Scorsia and Frank Robinson. So, yeah, I
Nice.
thought that was interesting. The entire film was filmed in San Francisco and had a budget of $14 million, but it grossed $116 million, and this was back in 1974.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, so...
I gave it 6 out of 10.
It's been a while
It's been a while since
yeah.
I've seen it. I'm sure it would rate higher if I've seen it, more recently. In fact, I might go watch it.
Yeah, you should. If you have 2.5 hours, do it.
right. I love Steve McQueen as an actor. Like you said, Robert Wagner's in it. I mean, star-studded cast
Sure.
and just a good plot.
Never was much of a Paul Newman fan.
Neither was I.
I think he tried to fill the shoes of James Dean after he passed away. It just didn't do much for me, but, that's just my opinion.
Right.
You know what that's worth. But that's all I got for Towering Inferno, and dude, I thought it was a pretty decent film. It was released, distributed by 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers.
Yeah. It's duly noted as a disaster movie.
Yes. And we debated on this because this was the last one we squeezed in
Right.
in our list of disaster films. And I remember asking you, hey, do we consider fire as a disaster film? Is it natural disasters? Because that's what we were
Yeah.
going for, was natural disasters. But
Like,
we were
I mean,
really,
it wasn't like a firestorm
sure.
or something like that, but you know, it's something that could actually happen
Yeah.
in real life.
We were looking for doing a bunch of Mother Nature type of disasters.
Right.
I think that's what our aim was. But
Yeah, this one here it's electrical, but you know,
yeah, it's
it's still-
man-made, but you know,
Right.
I think it fits the bill.
Yeah,
And it's a good movie, so go check it out. You can actually, I think you can go watch Towering Inferno on. I think it's on Prime. I think it's on Prime, and I think Dante's Peak is on Prime as well. Well,
Well-
check it out if you haven't seen that old classic '70s flick.
and like he was saying, you know, there was a lot of debate. Tons of disaster movies that we choose from, but we're not so natural disasters. I mean, you have Titanic, you've got the Poseidon Adventure, A Perfect Storm,
Yep.
you know, stuff like that. That could have been avoidable.
And of course, I'm sure everybody out there is going, Armageddon. Why didn't you put Armageddon on
Well-
there? Well, you know, because it's a Michael Bay film. That's why.
Well, not only that, but I mean, Deep Impact. It had. I think Deep Impact was a lot better.
I agree.
I mean, Armageddon. It was action packed. I mean, it had everything in it, but it was over the top.
Hmm.
It really was. And so, I mean, it's still a good film. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. I don't know what rock you've been under, but go see it. But I think Deep Impact was a way better film visually and everything. So
I agree. Plus, I had Morgan Freeman.
yeah, and
You don't get that with Armageddon.
right.
You
Get you
get,
some Billy Bob Thornton.
yeah. What do you got?
Well, since we're talking about Dwayne Johnson, I got the movie San Andreas.
Oh boy.
So, San Andreas was released May 29th, 2015, which actually, we thought it was a lot earlier
Yeah.
than that.
No, I thought it was a newer film.
Time flies.
Yeah.
But it stars Dwayne Johnson, Carla Gugino,
Gugino.
who we mentioned before in our first episode.
Son-in-law.
Yep. And Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
And
Who's been in a number of films.
yes. And he's in the Verizon commercials now.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been
He's
Einstein.
dressed as
and-
Einstein, yeah.
And I think he was somebody else too. But anyways, the movie is about some scientists, Paul Giamatti being one of them, that discover that they can predict when an earthquake will actually happen. They were not prepared for the San Andreas fault to trigger, and when it did, it triggered a historic magnitude 9 quake, and basically split California in half.
Okay.
It's got good action, and everything.
Is it a Michael Bay film?
It is not a Michael Bay film. It
Who's-
is directed by Brad Payton,
Oh, okay.
who also directed Rampage
Okay.
and Journey to the Mysterious Island. So, you think there's a connection there with Dwayne
Dwayne The
Johnson?
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was distributed and produced by Warner Brothers. The budget was $110 million, and it grossed $474 million.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a huge movie,
Wow.
huge blockbuster. But I don't think The Rock has had any flops.
Well, I don't know.
I'm sure there are some.
Yes.
There was the earlier, Tooth Fairy,
Oh, yeah. Let's
When he
not
had
go
hair.
there. Yeah. Let's not do that.
the Disney Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. IMDb gave it 6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 48% with a 52% audience rating.
Pretty average. About Letterbox.
I did not get Letterboxd.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get a rating for that one.
Probably a 2 point something.
Probably. I think I had it at one point, and it was like 3.2. Yeah, it was like 3.2 out of 5. It was,
I'm surprised by that.
yeah, I believe so. Don't quote me on that. I gave it 6 out of 10 slates because it was par. You know, it just a niche, just a niche above par for
Okay.
me. I know you're not a rock fan or anything, but
No, he's all right. I don't mind him at all. It's the movie.
it's the movie. well, what did you rate it?
4.
4?
4 out of 10.
Oh my
It's
goodness!
the lowest rating of our list.
Wow.
I did not enjoy the film. I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't think it had much substance to it. I thought the script was awful. The action was good. The
Right.
CGI was CGI. It
Yeah.
did what it was supposed to do,
Right.
but you know,
And the only facts that I have of this movie are the fact that they're actually making a sequel.
why?
Don't ask me, I don't know. But it's in pre-production at the moment. So it could get cut.
I wonder if they're going to make a sequel to all of these movies. Dante's Peak 2.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
The Peakening.
The volcano rises again.
Armageddon D.
Dude. All right. What do you got for us next?
Deep Impact. We were talking about Deep Impact
okay.
just a second ago. It was released May 8th, 1998. And I'm guessing this was before Armageddon was released. Yeah, it says July 1st for Armageddon. So Deep Impact came out 2 months before. Better movie, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, by far.
It was directed by Mimi Leder, who is also known for Pay It Forward,
Okay. Good spacey film.
The Pacemaker, and On the Basis of Sex, which is, I believe, a female politician film.
Okay.
You know, set in the 60s, if I'm accurate
think,
on
yeah.
that. I've seen it.
I think you're
but
in the
it's
ballpark.
Been a while. Deep Impact was distributed by Paramount and DreamWorks. And it was written by Bruce Joel Rubin, who also wrote, and this is interesting for a movie about the apocalypse. Apocalypse. He also wrote Ghost and Jacob's Ladder,
Oh wow.
both 1990 films.
Right.
It was also written by Michael Tolkien, who is known for writing the screenplay for Changing Lanes, if you've seen that one.
Yeah.
With Ben Affleck and Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah.
So we had some good writers for Deep Impact. It's not a Michael Bay movie,
Right.
so there's,
It didn't have the money
yeah.
behind it.
Speaking of the money, it was $75 million budget and made $349 million.
Oh.
So it was definitely a successful
Oh, yeah.
film. Not as successful as Armageddon, I'm assuming.
Right.
It wasn't a summer blockbuster like Armageddon, but again, if you haven't seen Deep Impact, check it out. I recommend it. IMDb gave it a 6.2 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 2.8 out of 5, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 44% with a 43% audience rating there. So, I mean, it's basically the same concept as Armageddon.
Right.
You get a giant rock flying towards Earth, and people are freaking out. How much more of a synopsis do I need to give there? But it does star Robert Duvall, Tay Leone, who is in Bad Boys, and I think that's who you're thinking
Yeah.
of, is Tay Leone.
Yes.
Who she was also in that movie with Nick Cage.
Family
Man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also Elijah Wood was in it, and Morgan Freeman
Right.
was in the film. The film was shot in Manassas, Virginia, and that's all I got.
All right. What did you get? What about the ratings?
7. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
It's been a little while since I've seen it, maybe a couple years, not a whole
That's-
span of time that I've
Right. I gave it 7 out of 10 also.
Okay.
It was like I said, visually I think it was awesome, the effects on it and everything. And the fact that Robert Duvall, was an astronaut, that was kind of cool.
I like Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been a Duvall fan ever
Yeah.
since Lonesome Dove.
Really? That was your Duvall film?
Well, that was the first time I actually seen him,
Okay.
and knew who he was.
Mine was Falling Down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My a little tad bit older.
Yeah, a little bit older. But I do remember him. I saw him in an episode of Twilight Zone, and he didn't have hair. The early 60s still didn't have hair.
Wow.
It happens to the best of us.
Oh yeah.
But Deep Impact, I don't know where it's streaming at the moment, but if you can find it, check it out.
All right. Well, my final film, and that's the movie Greenland.
Great film.
Very, very good film. It stars Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin, who was also in Deadpool,
Okay.
and Scott Glenn.
Okay.
And Gerard Butler plays the structural engineer, and him and his family are like one of the chosen for survival from this comet that's threatening, to hit Earth. And visually, I mean, it's
Stunning.
outstanding.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the movie, what these people go through is just horrific, really. I mean, it's
Has a lot of tense moments.
a lot of tense moments. I've seen it now 3 times, and the third time was just last night, and I didn't cry, but the first 2 times I did. So
Yeah, yeah.
I ain't afraid to admit it. It's definitely a tearjerker. Definitely gets hits the heart, and
Yeah, I watched it with you.
Right.
I did not check out the last 30 minutes, but I do plan on finishing the film again. I have seen it,
right,
but it's been since 2020 when it was released.
yeah.
I don't remember much about it, but good,
Speaking
good
of-
film.
Speaking of which, it was released July 29th of 2020. It was directed by Rick Roman Waugh.
You said it right.
I did, not Waugh.
Waff. Because it is spelled W-A-U-G-H, not
Yeah.
waff.
Boop Waugh.
Little poop toot.
Right. I heard it. He also directed Angels Have Fallen with Gerard Butler,
Mm-hmm.
and Snitch with The Rock,
Mhm.
Dwayne Johnson, and Felon. You remember Felon?
I do.
That was a great movie.
I do, with Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Ibbity-bitty-ibbity.
And Stephen Dorff.
Yeah.
It was distributed and produced by Thunder Road Pictures, and had a budget of $35 million, but only grossed $52 million. So I mean,
This was during the pandemic.
exactly. So I think
Did it even get a theatrical release, or was it a streaming?
it was straight to streaming.
Okay.
There was nothing said about a theatrical release. So
I don't think much was theatrically released.
right, if it were, it was only for a few days.
Deserved it. It deserved a theatrical
It really did.
release.
IMDb gave it 6.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 78% with a 63% audience rating.
That's surprisingly low.
Yeah. And then Letterboxd gave it 3 out of 5. My rating, I gave this a 10 out of 10 slates.
I gave it 8,
8.
and that's the highest rating I have for our list.
It hit home for me.
It was a 7.5 before I rewatched it. I gave it 8.
Nice.
Good movie.
Now, some interesting facts about this movie. The movie was actually filmed in Iceland,
Not Greenland.
not Greenland. Or at least the end scene where they were supposed to be going
Uh-huh.
was Greenland, but it was actually Iceland.
Okay.
The QR code that was used on his phone to scan and prove that it's him and everything, it's actually functional.
Really?
Yeah, if you were to take a picture of it and scan it from watching a movie, it would pop up Garrity John A.
Nice.
So it's a functioning QR code. So
I
I
wonder
thought that
if,
was kind of
I
interesting.
wonder if they have to do that with every QR code they show on movies and television.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because I know that when they do a website, like on a TV show, they actually have to make the website
Mhm.
and build it up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That'll be some homework that we'd have to do.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott was in talks for the film, but discussions fell apart. You know how that kind of thing goes.
That would be a strange casting.
Yeah, well, he was going to take the part that Scott Glenn got.
Okay.
So I think that would have worked out.
Okay.
Scott Glenn's a wonderful actor, but you know I think Sam Elliott would have done it justice.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's actually a sequel, and is in pre-production right now for the movie. It's called Greenland Migration.
Well, I hope they don't make that into a post-apocalyptic film, just like every other film.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some cannibalism in there.
Yeah. Mel Gibson pops up.
Oh,
With his Australian accent.
Leonardo DiCaprio in a bear suit.
Oh, God. We can go on forever, folks.
Yeah, but that's all I've got. So
It's a good film. Where can we find it streaming?
it is streaming on
Is it on HBO Max?
HBO Max.
Okay.
Yes, I had to think for a minute.
Oh.
Yeah, HBO Max is where it's at. So
That's where it's at.
highly recommended.
Absolutely, I do too. Oh,
All right.
well, my last movie for the night is The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh,
This is another Roland Emmerich film.
right.
Strangely, we have two. We could have put, Moonfall on here.
Nah.
Okay.
We'll save that for aliens.
Yeah, okay. This movie was released May 28th, 2004, and was directed by Roland Emmerich, who also did Independence Day, Moonfall, 1998. Was it 98 Godzilla?
Yeah, 98.
The Patriot, Stargate, and
The list goes on.
Yeah, Making Contact, which was actually his debut film, Making Contact. In Germany, it was released under the name of Joey.
Okay.
So if you've not seen Making Contact, that's a very strange film. It used
Right.
to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. But The Day After Tomorrow was actually, they tried to get some consultation from NASA on the film, and they refused because they realized that everything in the film was not realistic. So they backed out on any consultation. So I thought that was interesting. It was written by Jeffrey Nachmanoff, who also did the screenplay for Schwarzenegger's The Last Stand and Traitor
Nice.
with Don Cheadle. IMDb gave it a rating of 6.4 out of 10. The Letterboxd gave it The Letterboxd. I just said The
Letterboxd.
Gave it 2.9 out of 5. And The Rotten Tomatoes gave it 45% with a 50% audience rating. It's, it's
Yeah,
a good film.
It's average.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
Does have Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid.
And Dennis Quaid.
And had a budget of $125 million, which obviously went to CGI. This film, but it made it grossed $552 million.
Oh yeah, it was a big hit then.
Yeah,
It really was.
saw it in the dollar theater when it came out. Back when we had dollar theaters, remember those?
Yeah.
But a couple of really cool facts about the movie. It was the biggest opening weekend for a film that did not hit number one.
Wow.
And also, it was the highest film to be made in Canada. It wasn't all made in Canada, but parts of it were filmed in Canada. Some of it was filmed in New York City, other parts of the United
Right.
States. But it was the highest film to be
I can see that
filmed
with
in
all the
Canada.
ice
Yeah.
and everything. Well, thank you, Canada.
Thank you. Blame Canada. It was a 20th Century Fox film and Lionsgate distributed. I gave it a 7.5.
You gave it 7.5. I gave it 7.
Yeah,
I was a notch underneath.
it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Just wasn't a lot. I wanted more.
I can see
out of
that.
it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. But you can't really go wrong with Dennis Quaid. I like everything that I've seen with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, that's what brought it even higher. Was him and everything.
The cast was good. Yeah, you can't go
yeah.
wrong with old Jerry Lee.
The plot it was a bit weak for me, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Kind of like the Moonfall syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that concludes.
I really don't have a whole lot more to say about these films.
Yeah,
I don't know where to stream Day After Tomorrow. It might be on Prime. It seems like a movie that would be on Prime.
yeah. You can find anything on Prime, I think.
Yeah. If you want to pay for it, it's definitely on Prime.
Right.
But for free streaming, couldn't tell you at this point. I just don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, the episode wasn't quite a disaster.
Oh, but that joke was. Thanks, Corey.
Yeah. That's
What-
all, folks.
That's all we got, suckers. Good night.